Take the. It's just fine.
Okay, that's great.
Pradima ma'am, please start. Pradima ma'am, you can start.
Okay, fine. Thank you. Good evening and good morning to our viewers across the world in different time zones. A very warm welcome to each one of you for our 24th episode of the Knowledge series of Vidya. As a nation, we are witnessing one of the gravest phases as we confront isolation, loss, despair, and fear like never before. How many of us have the resilience to negotiate through these times? Is there a vaccine that we can have for us to face this suffering and these challenges? In a storm in a garden, many buds and unripened fruits fall off. It is so unfortunate. A fruit should fall only when it is ripe. And so it is with human beings. We are witnessing the loss of so many young lives that you can only feel pain and helplessness at this uncontrollable event. But then, what to do? What about you? Are you going to feel angry, anxious, guilty, unhappy, and let these negative feelings take over and make you weak? Or are you going to get up, be determined, be strong to face this challenge? Because storms will keep coming. You have to have a stronger hold on life. We have a responsibility to those around us, to those dependent on us. We have to be pillars of strength. And for this, we must update ourselves to the pillars of health. That is the top priority of the world today. Our Vidya family is facing this difficult time with full efforts. I want to introduce Vidya to you. Vidya aims to educate, empower, and transform. What began in 1985 with our founder and chairperson Rashmi Mishra deciding to educate 5 girls around her IIT house in the campus in Delhi is now an organization with 79 projects across the metros of Delhi, Mumbai, Bangalore, and a base in US and Canada. Vidya has impacted over 4 lakh children and thousands of women at the grassroots level and changed the lives of innumerable families, taught them to live with dignity. Many of our students and women are today leaders, entrepreneurs, working on their own and being role models, responsible citizens of society. Our vision is to be the fountainhead for empowering and transforming lives through education. Our mission is to optimize the potential of our children, youth, and women by providing holistic education through schools, collaborations, and community programs. Our values: excellence every day, people matter, act with integrity, think forward, and global citizenship. Our various programs are displayed in front of you in each city. I'm not going to go over them. You can check them out on our webpage. But I want to say that each program has a personal touch. Each and every member of the Vidya family is totally committed, right from the board to the teachers, to our friends, our funders, donors, everyone has a single goal and mission, that is, to impart life skills and enhance personality development, along with, of course, the curriculum of education, which is necessary. We believe very strongly in health, health for the body and the mind. It is our main area of concern, and we have regular sessions on various topics on physical health like nutrition, hygiene. We have on safety, we have our POXO and POSH rules in place and a health policy. And along with that, we try to take care of mental health issues. We have professionals and counselors on board so that we can reach out and give guidance and support, even one-to-one counseling if necessary to anyone. As we all know, mind and body are attuned. For one, the otherness is necessary to be healthy. We aim to do a lot. We have done a lot, but our vision is even more bigger than what it is now. And for that, we need many hands and many minds. So I would like to invite all our viewers here to share our work and join this social movement. Become a participator in any way you can. Believe me, I joined Vidya in 1994. I'm still here because I have got back more than I gave. You receive more. Time just flies. There's so much to do. I still feel I have 1,000 miles to go before I sleep. The pandemic taught us to connect to Vidya, our members, on the digital platforms. And here we faced a big challenge because most of our beneficiaries, being students and women from the underprivileged areas, did not have access to the electronic devices needed. Smartphones, laptops, iPads, they did not have. So we tried our best. That was our first challenge because we could not take a pause in their education to try and get them the devices so that we can continue with our online lessons. I'm proud to say that in the 1 year, more than a year of the pandemic, we have not stopped our online classes. And in fact, we've added on online sessions on as much information as we can give about COVID, the present problem, preventive measures, COVID care, and we have even reached out to families which needed our immediate support. We have connected to each and every member of the Vidya family, ourselves included, to give each other strength to cope and to flow on. In fact, the good thing which has come out of this is that we all had to upgrade ourselves in technology. And sometimes older people like us had to learn from the younger ones how to negotiate through the various platforms. But I'm proud to say that we all have done that. In fact, we even had a tech festival and a Sanskriti festival online to motivate creativity and imagination in our children and keep them occupied. They came up with gems, believe me, and you can see those on our page where most of our sessions are available. So it was with that idea in mind that we started the knowledge series last May. And we've also started a self-care series every Friday for our Vidya colleagues. In the knowledge series, we hope to gain insights and invaluable information from the experts all around, all over the world who are friends of Vidya. Because we need at this time, what we need is correct information. And we need to constantly remind ourselves how we are to keep healthy, mentally and physically, to cope. Now I would like to invite Mr. Rakesh Bhargav, a friend and a Vidya supporter on this platform. He heads our organization in North America, and he's been the founder and CEO of many business consultancy firms. His experience spans over 38 years, in private banks and as a portfolio manager. Rakesh holds an advanced professional certificate in international business management from New York University, an MBA in marketing from Cleveland, and is from our very own Indian Institute of Technology, Kanpur, India. He is an active member of the IIT Kanpur Alumni Association in the US. Mr. Bhargav proves his interest in health and fitness by being a very active and keen sportsman, and in fact was ranked #1 in the tennis competition held in USTA for 3 consecutive years. So that proves it. Welcome, Mr. Bhargav. I request you to introduce our speaker for today, Mr. Lalit M. Kapoor, without any further delay. We are all waiting to hear. Thank you.
Thank you, Pratibha. Thanks for your kind introduction. Good morning, everyone, and good evening, everyone. I'm proud to be part of the Vidya team. Rashmi and her fabulous team are a beacon of hope for so many children and their families in India. All of us are so proud, Rashmi, of your achievement and selfless dedication. I'm happy to introduce to you a very close friend who I have known for over 50 years. Lalit Kapoor and I were both classmates as well as roommates at IIT Kanpur. During college days, we often discussed ways to be healthy and stay healthy. At that time, our belief was that exercise combined with overnourishment was all that one needed. Sure enough, we actively participated in sports and were among a few that signed up for 2 daily breakfasts, as well as drank ample amount of milk with protein powder, even if it meant getting milk delivered to our room at 11 p.m. The journey for both of us has been meaningful, but unfortunately the health has not been perfect. Lalit has suffered many chronic diseases. Finally, in 2013, he decided to change. I'm amazed at his miraculous recovery. He's free of all ailments and medicines. With his inspiration and guidance, my goal to be completely free of disease and medications is within striking distance. I hope all of you will find Lalit's experience, motivational and life-changing journey to be very useful. I will now request Lalit to share his wisdom with you. Thank you. Lalit,
Just a quick interjection here. I'm sorry, but I want to say that any question or answer, questions that you may have, please post them in the Q&A box and not in the chat box. We will try to answer as many as we can at the end of the session. Thank you. Lalit,
Thank you, Rakesh, for those generous words. Rakesh and I both were roommates, as he just said, and we were very health conscious. Rakesh was a tennis champion of all 5 IITs, as well as a table tennis UP rank player. And I was trying to do a lot of weightlifting and bodybuilding. As a result, we both worked out a lot. We wanted to put on muscles and weight. And we were unique in the sense that we subscribed to double breakfast, which meant we had 2 glasses of milk in the morning, 2 eggs, 4 slices of bread, and 2 butter, I guess there must be about 15 grams in each, so you can imagine 30 grams of butter there. And on top of that, in the evening, a milkman came, brought fresh milk, and delivered to my room. I would boil it, and Rakesh's room was then, in the later years, was next door to mine. And we still, in spite of being so health conscious, as we grew, the lifestyle diseases caught up with us. So the thing about chronic diseases is that as you age, you develop symptoms, and when you go see a doctor, the doctor says, well, you have got high blood pressure. Your first question is, okay, I mean, so give me medication. And he gives you medication. You say, how long should I take it? I mean, that's what we are used to till we are 40, 45. Whenever we fall sick, we take some medication, and after 1 week, we are okay. So the question is, okay, and the doctor smiles. This is, what do you mean, how long? You have to take it rest of your life. And that happens to some at the age of 45 or 50 or 55. Somewhere in that range, we all find our first lifelong medication, which very often than not is blood pressure medication. Then after a few years, the doctor looks at you and says, your blood sugar is high, you have symptoms of diabetes, and you get shocked. He says, no, don't worry, it's all right, I'll give you medication. You again ask him, how long? And he says, well, no, you have to take it rest of your life. The doctor tells you that this disease is not curable. So all we can do is help you maintain it. Now, just imagine if your roof was leaking and you called a contractor, and contractor came and said, yeah, I see the leak. Okay, I'll do something. And, but it's an incurable leak. It cannot be cured, but I will help you so that the water doesn't drip over your head while you go to bed, okay? So he goes to the attic and puts some sponge to absorb the water. And then after a few more years, when that sponge doesn't work, he says, okay, let me replace it with a bigger sponge and put a little light lamp here which can evaporate. You won't hire that contractor, but we do hire these doctors who tell us that the disease is incurable. And on the Christmas of 2012, my daughters gave me a gift. One gave me a subscription to Netflix, and the other one gave me what is called Apple TV. It was a small device that connected to any TV and made it an intelligent TV. Of course, now all TVs are intelligent TVs. So we asked them to hook them up, and on 1st of January, my wife and I said, let's watch some documentaries, because documentaries you don't get to see in theaters. You hear about them during Academy Awards or Filmfare Awards, but they're not running in any movie halls. So anyway, we saw one documentary called Happy. Somebody had recommended it. It's a good documentary, and I do recommend that. And after you watch the documentary, there's a bar comes at the bottom of the screen. Others like it. So if you like this movie, maybe you would like one of these also. And in that bar, there was a name called Forks Over Knives. So we were curious, strange kind of name, Forks and Knives. Seemed like maybe a documentary on cooking. My wife is very fond of cooking. And when we watched the documentary, boy, that resonated with me. And that changed my life. That documentary, the word forks means the fork that you use to eat food. And knife means knife that is used to cut your rib cage for an open heart surgery. So instead of going through open heart surgery or bypass operation, which is very common, it's the #1 disease in America and in the world, is heart disease. So instead of using drastic means like cutting your rib cage with a knife and having a bypass surgery, if you would just use your fork properly, meaning if you would just eat properly, you will never face these diseases. Since these diseases are caused by our diet and lifestyle, we have to just change the diet and lifestyle, the disease goes away. And that was the crux of that documentary. And interestingly, the main doctor in that documentary is Dr. Colin Campbell. And Dr. Colin Campbell's life work was how to help people grow better by offering them animal protein. There was a belief that you need to have animal protein to get better. That was his PhD thesis, that one must provide animal protein for a normal, healthy growth of children. Now, he was doing his work in Philippines, and he came across an article published by two Hyderabad doctors, Dr. Madhavan and Dr. Gopalan. And they had a published an article based on their research, which showed that by consuming milk, one develops the risk of growing tumors. The casein, the protein in milk, helps cancer tumors grow. And Dr. Campbell thought it was so wrong, it was so incorrect, that the publisher must have made a mistake. He wrote a letter to the publisher, and the publisher said, no, this is what it is. This is what the research is. So Dr. Colin Campbell went back to his lab. He was from Cornell, and he replicated that study. And when he replicated the study, he found the results to be true. The results are that when you consume casein in animal protein in large amounts exceeding 5%, it causes tumor to grow. And when you eliminate that protein, the tumor shrinks. So there are many myths about food which are floating around in the universe. How these myths get created, how they get propagated, there's some self-serving interests by food industry, some self-serving interest by meat and dairy industry, some self-serving interest by pharmaceutical sector and the healthcare sector. Okay, so today my goal is to debunk some of these myths and in summary tell you how you can take control of your health, how to take charge of your health and get off these medications. I run, after I cured myself, as Rakesh said, I started a health group of my batchmates, both Rakesh and mine, which is 1971 IIT Kanpur batch. And it started writing posts in that. Some of my batchmates also said that they were able to get off medications, hypertension medication, diabetes medication, cholesterol medication, and so on. And in the group, by word of mouth, people gave reference to other people. So now I'm at a point where I start a new health group every month. And I started on WhatsApp, Facebook, Telegram, Signal. And we have about 2,500 people who join every month. And I take them through a 2-month course. And what I'm going to discuss with you is kind of introduction to what that course is. So when we look around, we make two observations. One observation is that even today, when you go to forest, all the animals in the forest kingdom, they don't have any doctors, they don't have any hospitals, they live their life. Yes, they have risk of a predator, and the weaker ones get caught, get killed, become food for their predator, but everybody else survives their life and they live their full life. When they're unhealthy, they stop eating. You can see it in your pet. If you have a pet dog or cat, once in a while, if the dog is not feeling good, he will just not have his lunch or dinner, maybe skip one day of worth of meal. And that's what happens in the nature. They don't need any hospital. Yes, when we have pets, they need hospitals and doctors because we are feeding them packaged food. Instead of feeding them natural food, we start giving them food that comes in cardboard boxes. So our pet animals do need to see doctors, but the animals in the wild don't need to see doctor. They don't need to see any hospital. So this is one observation. Second observation is 10,000 years ago or 100,000 years ago, there were no hospitals. There were no doctors. And we survived. We survived very well. We lived decent life. So when you look at these two observations, one historical observation for human beings and one today's observation for animal in the wild, one thing becomes clear, that if we would just eat food in its natural form and avoid eating processed food, refined food, the health comes back. So my discussion today will tailor around 5 pillars of health. That's the slide you're looking at. These 5 pillars are food. Food is most important. Second is detoxification. You know, there are 30 trillion cells in our body, and every cell needs food. And once the cell gets the food, it needs to remove something, poop out, okay? And in yoga, we call it prana and apana. Apana is getting rid of toxins. So detoxification is very important. If you are not able to detoxify, then you fall sick. Third element is physical activity. Human beings, human body was designed for action. So physical activity was natural. We evolved being physically active. It's part of our system. So that's the third element. The fourth is emotional support. And fifth is the spiritual balance. We will discuss that as we move further on the slide. So let me first talk about these different few of the myths. Of course, you know, we have limited time, so I'll cover only few of these in every subject matter. So we'll move on to the next slide. But before going to the next slide, I want to share some couple of testimonials from people from my group. Rakesh talked about his progress, and he talked about my improvement. But let's go to the next slide about a couple of testimonials. Move to the next about testimonial, then I'll come back. Yes. So here's some testimonial. Ravinder Sethi, 65 years old. He was in my group in January. So he did January through March. He had suffered from polio. I picked this testimonial because he cannot be physically active. He is wheelchair bound. He had an accident 17 years ago, and he is wheelchair bound. But he was able to, he had diabetes, hypertension, and cholesterol. And within 7 weeks, he states here that he was able to get off diabetic medication. His A1C, which is a marker for diabetes, came to 6.7. And he has lost 11 pounds in 7 weeks. We are in touch. He is over all medications, all 3 medications: cholesterol medication, hypertension, and diabetes. The next testimonial here is Psychic Mighty. And he used to have lots of eggs, milk, cheese, yogurt, and was diabetic since 2009. His A1C used to be 8.7. He stopped all medication within 2 months. And he did Navratri fast, which is, we'll talk about it briefly, the 9-day fast, where you take only 1 meal. And he changed his eating window, which is very important, from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. Okay. And doing 10,000 steps every day. And his A1C dropped down to 6.9. He lost 20 pounds weight in 3 months. So these are just a couple of examples, but it happens to every case. The important thing is, and if any of you who are listening to me today are still or on any medication, which is for chronic purposes, we don't discuss congenital diseases, which you're born with, okay? Little can be done. Or acute situations. If you are met with an accident and you are in a hospital bed, that's the wrong time to come and tell you that, no, you must have a juice, you will get better. No, the doctors need to intervene and treat you. You are in an acute situation. You have broken your bones or whatever you have done. Or if you had a heart attack, that's an acute situation. If you have a heart attack, go listen to what the doctor is saying and do that. But in all other cases, all chronic diseases, they're caused by only two things, diet and lifestyle. And if you change diet and lifestyle, the diseases go away. That's what the crux of it all is. Let's move back to the other slide. Yeah. So here are certain myths I'll discuss. One myth is people say eat everything in moderation. It's flawed thinking. When you eat everything in moderation, you develop disease in moderation. A lot of diseases that you associate with as part of growing up, a little pain here in joints, arthritis, high blood pressure, constant cough, which is asthma. And you say these are all old age diseases. They are not. They're parts of the world, they're called blue zones, where people live to be 100, 110, 120, okay? And they don't have any hospital in those areas. They are isolated areas, and they don't need to see doctors, but they live productive life. 100-year-old, 105-year-old are still working in their fields and gardens. And when you die without having acquired any disease. You just die of old age. But we Indians have been led to believe that living 80 is a long life. I mean, 85, wow, we celebrate life, that he lived to be 85-year-old or 90-year-old. It doesn't have to be that way. One doesn't have to die at the age of 85 or 90. Human body, some research has shown that human body is, theoretically speaking, designed for a 126-year lifespan, okay? So that is a myth, everything in moderation. If you eat everything, then you will have diseases also in moderation. The protein myth, to believe that you need lots of protein is another myth. And you need better protein, and animal protein is better than vegetarian protein. These are all myths. In America, you will see a lot of people saying that 20% of your diet should be protein, or even some go as far as saying 1/3 of your diet should be protein. Mother's milk for a newborn, which the nature made, the God designed it that way, or nature designed it that way, has only 5.5% protein by calories. So a child, an 8-pound child, which becomes 16 pounds within 4 months, is the fastest growing stage in human life. He needs only 5.5% protein. Why should anybody need any higher than that? So US government in 1947 did research, and they clearly stated that minimum protein requirement is 5 to 6%. But our psyche was such, we were all so brainwashed to believe that we need more protein, that they said, to be safe, we recommend consume 8 to 10%. Okay, so 8 to 10% is maximum that you need to consume, or recommended guideline, but minimum is 5 to 6. Most people in the world, in the civilized world, people with money, the people I'm talking to, eat too much protein. They all eat too much protein. Now the problem is, protein is similar in structure as hydrocarbon or fat, because carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. The only difference is protein has nitrogen. There's a nitrogen element in it. So if you eat extra protein, what your body is supposed to do? I mean, if you eat extra sugar, body can convert it into fat and store it behind your skin. But if you eat extra protein, body, it gets processed in liver and it removes nitrogen. So nitrogen and hydrogen together form ammonia, NH3. So ammonia is very toxic. So body needs to get rid of that ammonia. So body makes uh, uric acid, okay, from that ammonia, and that uric acid you pass out through your kidney as urine. As a result, your kidney and liver are overtaxed for no reason, because at the end of the day, it got converted into fat anyway, okay? So why consume more protein if you had just consumed 6% instead of 16%? That extra 10% by end of the day is already converted into fat. So that's the problem. The reason you find so many people suffering from kidney problems, okay, dialysis, more and more patients are going into dialysis centers. Dialysis is one of the fastest growing industry in America. Every shopping corner mall, you will find a dialysis center. You'll find a Vikram Yoga, a nail care, a hair salon, and a dialysis center. That's our problem. We're eating too much protein. Similarly, there's a myth about calcium and dairy. To think that dairy provides calcium, everybody thinks that dairy is a source of calcium, which is a myth. The countries which consume more dairy have more broken bones. The research has shown that countries like US, Canada, Denmark, Norway, where the consumption of dairy is maximum, have the highest rate of hip and bone fractures. So osteoporosis, which is a disease of the bone, is more common in countries which consume more dairy than those countries which consume little or no dairy. In China, they don't consume dairy. Okay. There's another myth about exercise myth, that if I work out, if I go to gym, nothing wrong will happen to me. That is a myth, because food is 80% of your problem. Exercise, yoga, meditation, family support, they all lump into 20%. Okay, so to think that I'm working out, a lot of people who get first heart attack and die used to go to gym regularly. Okay, so it's the myth, and a lot of people make that blunder. They think I'm going to gym, I'm spending 2 hours every day, nothing will happen to me, and then suddenly they go to doctor and says, oh, you are a serious case for heart attack. If you don't change your diet or lifestyle, it can happen anytime. The last myth I want to talk here is better safe than sorry. And I experienced that with many my group members. I have right now 15,000 active members. And even after their health improves by changing their diet and lifestyle, they don't want to stop that medication. Even then the blood pressure has come down and blood sugar has come down and cholesterol has come down, they just feel more comfortable. They're attached to that medication. Oh, this is just a tiny pill, just I'm taking it just to be safe. It's the wrong thinking. To have slightly higher blood pressure is safer than having a lower blood pressure with that pill, because that pill is causing you more harm. You know, everybody starts with a single pill at the age of 45, 50, or 55. Then within a year or two, there's a second pill. Then there's a third pill. By the time you are 70, 75-year-old, you are taking 4, 5, 6 pills. I was taking 5 pills at the age of 63, okay? And that was a blunder. So the getting off medication as soon as possible should be your goal, because you are hurting yourself in ways which you don't know. Not even your doctors don't know. If a medication says that there are 2 side effects, these are the 2 that the company had to declare. They could not get away from it. There are probably another 18 that have not been declared. So you need to watch out. Okay, we'll move to the next slide. No, next one. So we'll discuss what to eat, when to eat, how much to eat, why to eat. We may not have time to discuss why, but all others we'll discuss. Let's go to the next slide. Okay, so what I'm talking about here is that you eat plant-based food and you eat whole food. So what is the difference between whole and processed food? This slide explains to you. So when you're eating corn on the cob, what we call bhutta, you're eating food in the natural form, okay? When you're having corn soup, yeah, you made corn soup possibly by taking out frozen corn and boiling it. So corn soup is slightly processed. Corn meal is a little bit more processed. Corn flour, atta made of corn, that is a little bit more processed than corn starch. Now popcorn has been processed at high temperature, okay? And so it is clearly a lot more processed than other items discussed. Now corn flakes is what Mr. Kellogg made about 100 years ago, okay? And corn flakes gets processed in a factory. It's a complex process. Corn oil is also highly processed. You're running corn through compression mills, and then it is treated at high temperatures, is refined. So corn oil is refined food. Corn flakes is highly processed food. And high fructose corn syrup, which is now mixed instead of sugar in all soft drinks, Coca-Cola, Pepsi-Cola, 7-Up, all foods which have added sugar, they use high fructose corn syrup because it is much cheaper than white sugar. So what I'm talking here is that any process that you can do yourself, you can peel it, slice it, dice it, boil it, mash it, grind it, because we had tools to grind even 10,000 or even 50,000 years ago. We used to call silbatta, and you could grind anything. Those things are fine, but in this list that you're looking at, definitely avoid corn flakes, corn oil, and high fructose corn syrup. So if you're given a choice and you are on a buffet counter and they have either given you a corn on the cob, which is bhutta, which is the healthiest form of eating corn, or something made out of corn starch meal, go for a bhutta. But definitely not go for corn oil, corn flakes, or high fructose corn syrup. So that's what the concept of processed food is. So what we are discussing is that you should be eating plant-based food and whole food. Only these two things. Let's move to the next slide. Okay. Another recommendation is try to eat your water as much as possible. Cucumber has 98% water. So instead of having a glass of water when you're coming from outside, from a shopping trip or whatever, or from office, have a cucumber or kakadi in India, okay? Or have watermelon. So you see a lot of people these days, they carry a water bottle with them, they're drinking water all the time. It's overkill. You want to eat 2 glasses of water in the morning, first thing, and then you want to have a glass of water at night before going to bed. And maybe a glass of water after 1 hour after every meal. The rest of the water should come from fruits and vegetables. Try to eat your water. That's another. Okay, we'll move to the next slide. So what to eat? No animal food, no dairy. Dairy is animal food, and dairy is very harmful for you. One just doesn't realize, and a lot of problems are associated with dairy. A lot of autoimmune problems are associated with dairy. When we consume dairy, some of the dairy protein gets through our internal lining of our intestines and mixes in the blood. When it mixes with the blood, the blood perceives it as a foreign matter, it perceives it as an attack. So it creates antibodies to fight that protein. Those antibodies are very similar. The dairy protein is very similar to some of our body parts protein. So those antibodies start hurting our body parts as well. And that's one problem of autoimmune disease, as we call it. They also call leaky gut syndrome, because your gut is leaky, that the dairy protein is able to leak through the gut to your blood vessels and cause autoimmune problem. No refined or highly processed food. So two of the worst culprits in that category are oil. So no oil. You can have peanuts, but not peanut oil. You can have mustard seeds, but not mustard oil. Avoid all oils and ghee. Of course, ghee is dairy, okay? And avoid all sugar. Eat sugar cane as much as you feel like, okay? Sugar cane is whole food, very healthy food. Because when you eat sugar cane or when you eat apple or beetroot or anything which has sugar in it, sugar is embedded into fibers. These fibers go through your body and sugar is absorbed in a slow process. So if you had your lunch at, let's say, 1 o'clock, those fibers are flowing through your intestines at 2 hours for digestion and is going through. It takes your body 3-4 hours to absorb that sugar. When you drink a Coke, that sugar gets absorbed within 5 minutes. Okay. Eat from all 5 food groups. Nothing special is required. Eat your vegetables, fruits, nuts and seeds, beans and legume, dal, and grains, chawal, roti, all that. No differentiation. Do not listen to people that don't eat quinoa and don't eat rice or eat millet and don't eat wheat. It's all nonsense. I mean, this is a concept called order of magnitude. So you want to attack the big items. Don't worry about it. I mean, if you want to extend your life, extend it by 10 years, 15 years, focus on those things. If there is something, there are issues like some people in social media in India especially, you see so much discussion. Oh, you must have water sitting down, not standing up. If you change your habit from standing up water drinking to sitting down water drinking, all cancers can be cured. Oh, you must have almonds without the skin, not with the skin. If you just eat your almonds, 5 almonds every morning, you will have no problem. All kinds of nonsense goes on there, okay? Just disregard it. These are 5 food groups. Try to consume them. Add herbs and spices generously. And then there are 3 items only that you need to worry about, which get missed out in the shuffle. One is omega-3. Omega-3 is a fat. Omega fats are fats which we call essential fats. Essential because your body cannot make it. All other fats your body can make. If you eat a little extra, your body will just convert that very day, that very moment into fat. Okay, fat is the way body likes to store all extra energy. The only fat body cannot make is omega-3 and omega-6. So you need to eat it every day. Now, omega-6 is available in plenty, but not omega-3. So flaxseed, chia seed, hemp seed, walnuts, they are the richest sources of omega-3, and most people in the civilized world have shortage of omega fats. Most vegetarian and vegan people have shortage of omega-3, okay? So make that part of your daily routine. The next is vitamin D. Because we have stopped going out in the sunshine, our body cannot make vitamin D. And most people after the age of 40 plus find that they have shortage of vitamin D. So please go out, spend 15-20 minutes in sunshine instead of taking a vitamin D pill. Vitamin D pills are controversial and can lead to kidney stones and other problems. So I do not recommend vitamin D supplement until you have extreme shortage and doctor wants to give you injection or some prescription for that. But try to get it from sunshine. You don't need sunshine every day. Vitamin D gets stored in your body. So even if you can get sunshine during summer months, it'll be enough for your winter months as well. Vitamin B12, vegetarian people will not get, because vitamin B12 used to be in our water supply, the rivers, the underground water, the soil. It comes from the soil when we walk bare feet, when we work in the field with our hands and legs, bare legs, we absorb vitamin B12. We don't do that anymore. The water we drink comes from municipal supply, and they chlorinate it. When they chlorinate it, they kill vitamin B12. So B12 you have to have. That's the only supplement that you need to have. Have a B12 pill either every day or once a week. Get 50 microgram daily or 2000 microgram once a week. And please get yourself, everybody over the age of 40 should get it tested, vitamin D and B12, because you may be deficient. We'll go to the next slide. Okay, here's a typical Indian vegetarian meal plan. We get up in the morning, 7 o'clock, have tea with milk, sugar, some biscuits or rusk. That rusk, when you dip it in your tea and you bite on it, oh, what a lovely flavor it gives you. I still miss it. Okay, so we start our day having that. Then at 9 o'clock we'll have either some idli or aloo paratha with dahi or poha, upma, some sweet lassi or lemonade or tea. Then 1 o'clock we have lunch, dal, sabji, raita, roti, rice, and some mithai after that. 4:30, 5 o'clock we have evening snack, samosa with chai or sharbat if it is summertime. 8 o'clock, those people who like to drink will have some snacks, some tandoori chicken or chips or namkeen. Fried cashews are very common in India. And matti, that's not mathai, it's a misprint there. It should be matti. So they'll have some namkeen matti with their scotch. And then dinner at 9:30. So whatever is for dinner, chola, bhatura, vegetable, roti, raita, and some mithai afterwards. What I have not mentioned here is before going to bed, it's a common theme in India to have a glass of milk. A lot of people will have a glass of milk at 10:30 at night. Somehow there's a myth that it makes you sleep better. So this is our typical Indian, and when you look at it, you will find, I have it on the right side, that you are getting a lot of ghee or oil, you are getting a lot of sugar, and you are getting a lot of dairy. So the total calories that you are getting can be as much as 30 to 70% from these three food groups. Now, calories from dairy are of course harmful, but all these three food groups have no fiber. Your ghee or oil has zero fiber. Your sugar has zero fiber. And dairy has no fiber. So your body is deprived of fiber. And that's the story of the civilized world, that we have 97% people get too much protein, and 97% of the people get too little fiber. Okay. And a fiber is one of the most important nutrient and most under-recognized nutrient. So what we are talking about when we change our diet from this diet, we get rid of ghee and oil. We get rid of all sugar. We eating fruits and vegetables then and grains and legumes, dal, that's where our sugar is going to come from, and no dairy. So that's the change. It's very simple. There's no need to make it more complicated. Let's move to the next slide. This is an example of what a plant-based whole food diet would look like. In this slide, I have used 20% of the calories are coming from each food group. So we are having apples and strawberries as a sample of fruit. Of course, I recommend you eat a lot more than variety. Try to have 7, 8 different fruits every day. But berries are very important. Then we have potatoes and spinach as to green leafy vegetables and starchy vegetables. And then moong dal and chickpeas or chole for your lunch or dinner. And then some grain is coming from rice and wheat, and some flaxseed and some walnuts. So nuts and seeds group, which is a often neglected food group, which is important. So 2000 calories, there's 82 grams of fiber, and there is 58.6 grams of protein. That protein will amount to about 12% of your daily intake, okay, of calorie when you convert it into calories. So this fiber is, in US, the recommended guidelines for fiber is only 25. Of course, they have that so low because they'll have a problem. Otherwise, you can't eat any meat. But 25 is not enough. And don't make that your target. Your target should be closer to 100. Okay. And that's what you see. That's what you will get without asking, frankly. Let's move to the next slide. There's a concept of what we call caloric density. How many calories are there in each pound of food? So green leafy vegetables, spinach, sarson ka saag, beetroot greens, they all have only 100 calories per pound. If you ate only green leafy vegetables, you'll have to eat 20 pounds every day. Okay. The fruits have 300 calories. Rice, potatoes, roti have 500 calories a pound. Dal, bean, rajma, 500 calories a pound. Okay. But when you come to the other side, you realize that your dry breakfast cereal, that Kellogg's cereal we were talking about, is 1400 calories a pound. Cheese is 1500 calories a pound. Fried chicken, 1500 calories. Nuts and seeds, that's why we don't consume them in large quantities. They are high, but on this right table, nuts and seeds is the only thing I recommend. Okay. So our diet is full of oil and ghee and butter and cheese and milk. And that's where our problem is. We are consuming a lot of calories, which are calorie dense, but they're nutrient poor. Let's go to the next slide. This is nutrient density. Nutrient density is on a scale from 1 to 1000. So it's a amount of nutrients you get, a composite nutrient is developed by Dr. Fruman. So it says you that for each calorie is comparison of different foods. If you eat kale or sarson ka saag, you're getting 1000 nutrients per calorie, or any set of calorie you can say per 100 calories. Spinach, 707, carrots, 458, okay, cabbage, these are all very healthy foods, 434, cauliflower, tomatoes, strawberries, grapes, onions, flaxseed, orange. Now you look at on the right side, you see the Coke is giving you only 1, I can't see that here, but potato chips will give you only 2. Ice cream, white bread, olive oil, cheddar cheese, French fries, food that we are eating, food that the younger generation is eating now, is poor in nutrient. It's nutrient poor, calorie rich. And that's where our problem lies. We are consuming a lot of food which is calorie rich, and that leads to overweight, but we are still deficient in nutrients. The nutrient deficiency is causing the problems. And of course, extra calories are causing the problem. of obesity. Let's go to the next slide. Next slide, yeah. How much to eat? So there are only few things where minimum is important. Try to eat 1% of your body weight in fruits and including berries. Try to eat them in raw form. Don't juice them. Fruits should not be juiced. They should be eaten in the whole form. Eat 1% of your body weight in vegetables minimum. Now, if you are suffering from diseases, you want to reverse them, then this 1% should be more like 2 or 3%. Hypernutrate yourself. Once you get hypernutrition for a month or two, you will begin to see the change immediately. So I recommend that you eat, make juices out of food and out of green leafy vegetables, and have 3 glasses of juice every day for at least till you're off all medication. Have minimum 1 ounce of flaxseed. This is a minimum because you need omega-3. And then vitamin B12 supplement. I do allow a little bit of oil or ghee and sugar, 2 teaspoons per day, only for those people who have reversed their disease. And you can reverse your diseases within 2 months, all diseases, okay, if you follow to a T. So then you can go back to 2 teaspoons of ghee or mustard oil, kachi ghani ka, and 2 teaspoons of sugar per day. That's your allowance for rest of your life. Eat as much as you feel like. Portion control does not work and is not needed. Your body knows how much to eat. It will tell you, will give you a signal. So all this nonsense that eat only 1 teaspoon of salt and don't eat more than this, or it's all nonsense. Your body is designed in such a way that it knows when to stop. There is a satiation mechanism built into our body. When you're eating natural food, it works. When you're eating processed food, it doesn't work, because processed food is designed by PhDs in psychology who know how to circumvent your satiation mechanism. They want you to eat more. They want you to buy more. And in fact, the Pringle chips, potato chips, they advertise that you can never stop at 1. If you eat 1, you will finish the whole box and you will still not feel satisfied. Once I decided to test myself, and there was an ice cream, and I got a pint of ice cream. I said, let me see when I will feel satiated. I did not. I felt sick, but I still kept on wanting to eat more. And that's the problem with processed food. It's designed by experts who know how to circumvent your body's satiation mechanism. It's really very simple. Eat whatever you like and some that you don't like. Variety is important, okay? So yeah, eat wheat, roti, but sometimes have corn or millet or some other form, okay? I mean, eat rice, but sometimes have quinoa also, okay? So variety is very important. You never know what nutrient you might need from that particular item. Let's move to the next slide. How to eat. Eat fresh fruits, raw, uncooked. Eat green leafy vegetables and salad vegetables uncooked. Make green juice from raw leafy and salad vegetables and have a glass of juice 20 minutes before every meal. Eat flaxseed ground because it can go through your body without getting digested. Eat dals sprouted or cooked, and eat grains cooked. Very simple, nothing special about it. Next slide. Okay, now this is a very important chapter. When to eat. Now, as we were evolving for millions of years, we slept through the night, and when we saw the daylight come in, which is about half an hour, 45 minutes before sunrise, we got up, went to the river, washed our faces or whatever, took a bath in the river. And then when we went in the search of our food, there were no refrigerators. We didn't even have cottages to live in. we settled down only 10,000 years ago. So prior to that, we were just going from one place to another. When food ran out, we walked another 10 miles, 15 miles to new spot and kept moving. So ladies went searching, gathering berries and fruits, and men went looking for some hunt or some leftovers as a scavenger, some animals hunt and gather it. We came back, probably when we came back, it was already 10:30, 11 o'clock. We cooked a big meal and we had a supper. Sometime early afternoon, we had our big meal, okay? And then in the evening, before it gets dark, we finished. We finished all our eating. So our body has evolved to a narrow eating window. And as we saw in the typical Indian meal plan, we start eating at 7 in the morning, and then we have our last glass of milk before going to bed, and let's say that was at 11 o'clock. So that's a 7 to 11, that's a 16-hour eating window. We are eating for 16 hours off and on. That is very unhealthy, very unhealthy. We need to eat in a very narrow eating window. It should definitely be not more than 12 hours. That's how our body evolved, okay? So try to reduce this thing alone can make as much difference as all dietary changes you make, okay? It's almost as much. You will find that even if you don't make any dietary changes and just reduce your eating window to 8 to 10 hours, okay? And avoid eating when it is dark outside. So your last meal should be within 45 minutes of sunset. And your last meal also should be 3 hours before bedtime. So there's a concept called circadian clock. Every cell, every 30 trillion cell in our body has a clock, okay? And we have a master clock in our brain, in the hypothalamus area. Our master clock gets tuned to the daytime, to the 24-hour clock, the real clock, based on lighting gathered by our eyes. Our eyes have certain protein cells and melanopsin cell, there are 5,000 cells in each retina. These protein cells sense the blue light, which we see in the morning, and our body's rhythms work. So our body starts going up in a cortisol hormone, and in the evening, after sunset, melatonin hormone begins to rise and cortisol hormone begins to dive down. That's why you slow down. Your whole body system slows down and you go to sleep. When your body's clock is not in sync with the nature's clock, the trouble happens, okay? And the body's clock gets tuned to the nature's clock every morning by looking at the daylight, okay? That's why we used to have a system called Surya Namaskar. It's very important. Sun gazing, believe it or not, there is an Upanishad dedicated to sun gazing, looking at the sun during the first hour of the morning, okay? And people go to the river and look at the sun. You don't look at the sun directly, you look at around the sun, in rings around, okay? Never look at the sun directly, even if it is morning sun. You look around to the blue sky around the sun, and that keeps your internal clock time. So what happens when we eat late? Our clock gets messed up. Clock thinks it's still not, the melatonin was going up, and the body says, oh, what happened? I'm just eating now, it's 9 o'clock. I should not have increased the melatonin. Bring down the melatonin. Because that food, if you ate at 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, needs a couple of hours to digest. So the body should not slow down. The digestion should happen. Food you eat in the evening converts into fat, does not convert into glucose, or converts more into fat than glucose. Food you eat in the morning converts into glucose, because the body knows this is the daytime. Cortisol is a stress hormone. It tells you that you need to go out, okay? Your adrenals are flowing, as we say. You need to go out, look for food. So when to eat is almost as important. And there's one doctor in San Diego University, University of California, San Diego, Dr. Sachin Panda. His full name is Sachidananda Panda, but Sachin Panda, short form. He has done a lot of work in this area. Okay. The 2017 Nobel Prize went to a doctor who figured out why circadian rhythm is very important. Okay. And how our body, the absorption of oxygen is dependent upon circadian rhythm as well. So there's no time to go into it today, but let's move to the next slide. But keep in mind, if after today's discussion you can make this only with this one change, you have achieved something. That you must eat, finish dinner 3 hours before bedtime, before it is dark outside, and eating window of only 8 to 10 hours. Okay, I'm looking at the watch. I think maybe running out of time. Detoxification is very important. Detoxification, water I talked about, but what is important is what we call intermittent fasting, not eating anything for 16 hours and eating food only during an 8-hour window. It helps you to detoxify. Even your walking is a detoxification. Our body detoxifies through a mechanism, and it requires for you to be walking and moving your body parts. But I want to talk about fasting a little bit here in this slide. In India, we had a custom, what was called Ekadashi fast. Ekadashi fast is done on 11th day of the moon, on the rising moon and setting moon both. And that fast is done for 36 hours. Fasting, the value of fasting got recognized in the Western world after 2 Nobel Prizes were given. 2016 Nobel Prize was given to Dr. Yoshinori, who showed us why after fasting for a certain time, our body begins to recycle all the dead cells and dead protein in our body. It's a process called autophagy. Autophagy means eating your cells. So in every 30 trillion cell, every cell has a tiny trash can. And if there is a protein, wasted protein, it puts it into that trash can. When you run out of protein, your body is stressed. During fasting, you run out of protein. When you run out of protein, the body says, oh, no food is coming. Let's see what we have left. And it begins to recycle and clean up. Similarly, it eats the dead cells or damaged cells. When body is trying to make new cells, sometimes mistakes happen. You know, in a men's shirt, the left flap goes on top of the right flap. Suppose a production lot, they made a mistake, and in a men's shirt, they made the right flap go over to the left one. It's wasted. So what do? They say, let's recycle it. Let's just take the cloth that we can use and make children's shirts out of it, okay? So similarly, your body recycles all misfolded proteins. So spent protein, misfolded protein, that is autophagy. That is very important for detoxification. Nothing is as important as autophagy. And second is here a long fast. The 2018 Nobel Prize was given to Dr. Honzo who showed that when our body does not get protein for long stretches of time, it becomes stronger to tolerate cancer, So when you're having a cancer therapy, like a chemotherapy, chemotherapy kills both cancer cells and healthy cells. But if you are fasting, your healthy cells become stronger. They cannot be killed, okay? And that is why we develop immunity to cancer. So this 9-day, I changed it to 9 days. Dr. Honzo talks about 10-day fast. And because 9-day kind of coincides with our custom of Navratri fast. So I recommend very strongly that once a year you do Navratri fast. In Navratri fast, eat only one meal in the evening of under 500 calories. This is very important once a year, or you can do two fasts of 5 days each. Okay. So detoxification is very important. Let's move to the next slide. Physical activity is important. Try to do 10,000 steps every day, 5 minutes of activity every waking hour. Do some freehand exercises, do yoga, and try to sleep. Sleep is very important. So inactivity is important because that's where a lot of detoxification is going on. Different people need different hours of sleep, but don't listen to anybody who says, I need less than 7 hours. Get as much sleep as you need. If there's a deficit, make up for it within that weekend. Don't let it go beyond the weekend. Okay. So sleep is very important. Again, before going to sleep, switch off your iPad or iPhone for at least half an hour to 1 hour, because that blue light that comes out of a cell phone, it interferes. Those 5,000 cells on each retina that I talked about, when they get confused. They don't know what's going on. Is it daytime or nighttime? Should I increase the level of melatonin in the body or not? Okay, so the melatonin supply gets affected, and your sleep disorders develop. So this is very important to keep your circadian rhythm with the natural daytime clock. We'll move to the next one. Emotional support. Believe it or not, your hormones affect you emotionally. And your emotions trigger hormones in the glands. So if you're happy, it helps generate a happy hormone, and the vice versa. If your happiness hormones are weak, then you won't feel that happy. So your diet affects your hormones, and your hormones affect your mood. And the reverse of that is that your mood affects your hormones. So I'm not going to go into detail of this. We don't have time for this. But and then when we finish this talk, I will. You all are invited to join my health group, which would be beginning on 1st of June. We go into such details. We spend 2 months discussing these things. But diet affects hormone balance. As they say, laughter is the best medicine. Also, giving unconditional love is the best medicine as well. Not conditional love, unconditional love. Giving love makes you happy. So don't think of it as doing a favor to somebody else. When you give unconditional love, because if it's conditional, then there's an expectation. Oh, I should get something in return. When it is unconditional, then you just feel happy with that the hormones inside your brain are working and making you happy. So the reason I do these talks or these health groups to thousands of people, I just feel good about it. It's as simple as that. Let's move to pillar 5. Next one. Okay. Spiritual balance is also very important, because what is spirituality? Spirituality is the sense of gratitude. Thank God. It's that the feeling of gratitude washes you. It's a very strong hormone. It just washes you. It washes your whole body, your whole psyche. Okay. So that you pray regularly is very important. Who you pray to is irrelevant. Okay. Pray to whatever is your favorite God is, and if you don't have a God, you pray to your grandfather or grandmother. Think of somebody that brings that feeling of gratitude in you. Maybe it was your teacher in your high school and your college. Maybe it's your athletic coach, which brings those thoughts to your mind. Flood your mind with gratitude. Gratitude, sense of gratitude is most important. Okay. So happiness hormones reduce the stress, of course. Donate your time to charity. Okay. Go do something. Do something not for reward, not for name recognition. Something that just makes you feel good. Just do it. Okay. I mean, if you sometimes you play with young kids and you do something good for them, they feel good and you feel satisfied. So that is what it is all about. We normally cover a whole talk on this subject. Meditate if you can. If you have none, meditate for 20 minutes. I was fortunate that Maharshi Mahesh Yogi came to IIT Kanpur in 1969 and he initiated me. That's how I got into meditation at the age of 20. But do it every day if you can for 20 minutes. Let's move to the next slide. Okay, we won't spend much time on it. All I want to say is that the food industry just wants to make more profit. To make more profit, they reduce the fiber because the fiber rots the food. So to increase the shelf life, so they're doing things for their interest, which make the food unhealthy. When you eat unhealthy food, you fall sick. When you fall sick, the doctor is happy because you came to see him and paid his fee, 2,000 rupees or $200 or whatever. And then doctor prescribes you a medicine, so the pharma industry is happy that their medicines are sold. And doctors are not taught nutrition. In the MD program in American colleges, there's not a single course in nutrition. Okay, they are only taught medicine. That's why if your son is studying to become doctor, you say my son is studying medicine. You never say my son is studying good health or healthy living. They are studying medicine. They are expert in medicine. When you go see them, they can prescribe you medicine. That's all they can do, okay? Or they can do surgical procedures. So there is somehow a nexus has been formed. I'm not saying it's deliberate or intentional, but it is there, okay? And the government, either government officials or elected officials who need to raise funds for next election, or they are administrative officials who are looking for some consulting assignment after they retire at the age of 60 or 65. So it is good to be in the good books of pharma industry or food industry because they're the ones who are making money. They're the ones who will hire you, okay? So somehow a nexus gets established. Media wants to publish to sell magazines. When they sell magazines, there's something called selling a reprint. A reprint, if you like an article in a Time magazine, you can call them up, send them an email, they send me a reprint of this article. Each reprint costs about $4 to $5, okay? They'll send you a 4-page print, cover will be of the cover of the Time and inside will be that article. So medical industry, pharma industry uses a lot of reprints. So if there's a good article published in a magazine, they'll order maybe 500,000 reprints and they'll use that. So there was once an article in magazine that butter is good for you. Okay, now that's the great sales pitch for food industry, dairy industry. They'll go to the Time magazine and say, okay, give us 100,000 reprints of this article. This is a way of, okay, I scratch your back, you scratch mine. So any editor at any time is looking for, okay, so this is right now May, they're probably working on a September issue, and they have 5 articles to put on in the September issue. Every issue they want to put 1 article on health. They're trying to figure out. And suddenly somebody comes and says, well, if you decide what article you're going to print, but if you print this article, which says that soft drinks can be part of a very healthy diet, and if consumed properly, okay? So then we would like to have 500,000 reprints of this copy because if you print it, so now for $4 a reprint, 500,000 reprint, that's $2 million. It's a $2 million offer that has been made on the table to that magazine. What do you think the editor will do? He says, well, I have to pick one of these 5. I might as well pick this one and print it. It's based on research. Who funded the research? Probably soft drink industry funded the research. Today, 93% of all research is funded by food industry. Okay, so food industry is funding the research. How the research gets biased? This also naturally happens. You are a PhD student, you came from India to Cornell or Harvard, and your 1 year has been funded based on the research that you're doing. Next year's funding depends upon your results of first year. You're already biased. You want to live in America. You have come. You don't want to leave your PhD halfway done and return back to India. And if you write something wrong, negative, nobody is telling you. It just goes in your mind. So there was a research published on which we lived for 40 years into what was known as low-fat movement. Okay, and Ansel Keys published that research, and he showed 7 countries, and he showed the countries which consume more fat had more heart attack. Okay, and like a straight line. And based on that, US government changed their policy, and all this low-fat movement came. Everything low-fat, all cardboard, low-fat milk, low-fat this, low-fat that. After Ansel Keys died, in his Beverly Hills mansion, they found old papers. And they found the actual result was 22 countries study. He just conveniently removed 15 countries to make it look like the way he wanted it to look like. So we have lived a lie for 40 years. Can you imagine that? How many people must have died, okay, in those 40 years consuming wrong food? So just watch out. Just because something is printed in a magazine doesn't mean it is right. Educate yourself, empower yourself. That is what you need to do. Don't listen to what is printed in the media. Okay, be skeptical about it. Let's move to the next slide. Okay, so I finished my presentation. I know I have overrun time, and here is some more testimonials. I have hundreds of these testimonials. When the course finishes at the end of 2nd month, people just start writing them. Here's a Yuvraj, age 41. He, for first 2-3 weeks, he did not believe. He said, oh, because he lives a high-profile lifestyle, drinks and meat and everything. And then finally, he wrote me a panic call that I need to do something. My triglycerides were 575. My fasting sugar has gone up to 329. I said, just do it, okay? So I personally coached him for, in 2 weeks, triglycerides came down from 575 to 175. Fasting sugar for diabetes came down from 329 to 150, okay? So these are the kind of testimonials I hear all the time. Manjul Kulshrestha lost 38 kilo, okay? He was in diabetes, cholesterol, thyroid, sleep apnea. I used to suffer from sleep apnea. I weighed 55 pounds more than I weigh now, okay? My BMI now is 22.8, but it had exceeded 30. I was obese, okay? And sleep apnea goes away. So I think let's move to the last slide. This is another one. Vipin Asija lost 9 pounds. Blood pressure came down to 110/70. Fasting blood glucose came down to 100. Total cholesterol came down to 119. Okay. So let's skip this. Next one is another one. Anushka. She was diagnosed 9.75 was her A1C and came down to 7. Okay, within 2 months. Kusum Lata Rastogi, age 59. Again, cured her diabetes, and HbA1c came down to 7.2 from 9 in August. Okay, so all right, last slide, I think. So concluding remarks: cause of most chronic diseases is diet and lifestyle. So to cure them, just change diet and lifestyle. Go to plant-based whole food diet. Intermittent fasting, which is that eating window of 8 to 10 hours, and 10,000 steps a day. Just do these 3 things. It's easier than you think. You just have to empower yourself, and you need to practice. Just knowing about it is not enough. You need to practice. So my June 4th Facebook group will be June 21, Make My Health. And if this is my WhatsApp number, 925-284-2581. You can send a WhatsApp message and we are planning to create a dedicated group for Vidya, which will be a Telegram group. I have already formed that group, and you will receive hopefully a link to that group in the form of an email message. And thank you very much. Any questions now?
Thank you, Lalit. That was really an eye-opener. I'm guilty of some of the things that you have pointed out. I mean, like oil and dairy products, and like you said, some of the Indian styles of eating. Although now we are more conscious and we do have salads and nuts, like you have mentioned. We are what we eat, but when and how we eat and what should be the proportions, that's really inspired me, your detailed plans that I should join your group and definitely make a change in my way of living. It's good to be alive, but it's good to be alive and healthy.
Very
So,
true.
Lalit, as you said, we will be posting the vidya.lmk health Telegram link to our viewers, and also this recording will be available at YouTube, so you can always go through it at leisure and take in some of the very important points which you have pointed out, sir. Thank you very much. Nandini?
Yeah. A very good evening and good morning to all the viewers. First of all, I would like to thank Mr. Lalit M. Kapoor for giving us an enriching session about the 5 pillars of health. Having a good health improves one's outlook and perception towards positivity in life. So, as the saying goes, practice whatever you preach. Mr. Lalit Kapoor himself is a standing example of staying healthy and fit with the help of adopting the right diet and lifestyle. So eating plant-based food and whole food will certainly help us to alleviate most of the chronic diseases, as what he mentioned. Of course, a clear demarcation of the food we take will definitely help us to choose to live wisely. And also eating nutrient-rich food is highly important, as mentioned by sir. Thank you so much for this outstanding session. With a lifestyle filled with stress and health complications, it's almost becoming impossible to develop a healthy lifestyle. So your session today threw light on the salient features of maintaining a healthy life balance by following the simple and effective methods. We are very sure that the viewers who have listened to your session will definitely get inspired to follow a better lifestyle. So we have some questions in the Q&A box, and I would like Mr. Lalit to answer them. So one question is, could fasting create any problem with diabetic person?
No, in fact, it's the contrary. Diabetic people benefit the most from both intermittent fasting or narrow eating window and prolonged fasting. Obviously, I mean, when you are dieting, because the thing is, diabetes is a disease of low sensitivity to insulin. I mean, high sugar is just a symptom. Why is sugar high? Because your insulin is not working. Insulin is not working because you have been eating too frequently in your life. And when you eat long hours, your body has insulin all the time. It's just like alcohol drinking. Somebody who drinks alcohol for the first time gets tipsy after drinking one drink. And then the same person after 2-3 years can have 4 or 5 drinks. And he says, I'm fine, I can drive back home. Because body has become less sensitive to alcohol. So similarly, when we are eating all the time, morning tea, breakfast, lunch, evening tea, snacks, and then late dinner and a nightcap glass of milk, your body has insulin all the time. So when your body has insulin all the time for 16 hours a day, and then after milk, when you go to sleep, the insulin doesn't go away, you develop insulin insensitivity. So when you fast, you develop insulin sensitivity back because your body has long stretches of period where there is no insulin. Okay. I mean, there is always some basal insulin is always there, but there's no additional insulin. So fasting is actually the best for diabetic patients.
Thank you so much, sir. We have one more question. There's a common myth that prevails that microwave causes cancer, use of microwave. So is it a proven fact
No,
or myth?
no, it is not. Just rule it out, okay? It's totally mistaken. Microwaves do not cause cancer. Microwave, heating food in microwave does not cause cancer. So I'll
Thank
keep the
you
answer
so much.
short. Okay.
Thank you so much. So,
Any other question?
Sir, can I ask a last one, please? Is red wine healthy?
Yeah. Now the thing is, that question often comes up. There is something, they say something, is this something healthy? The issue there is compared to what? Okay. So the red wine is not healthy, but red wine is healthier than scotch or beer or white wine. So if you were going to have a scotch and you decided to replace a scotch with red wine, it was a healthier move. But if you don't drink anything, don't drink red wine thinking it's healthy. There's a compound we get, resveratrol, and you can get it from 5 grapes, then a glass of red wine. If you eat 5 grapes, you get enough resveratrol. So the point is, red wine is not healthy, but it is healthier. Similarly, the question comes up, is gur, jaggery, is jaggery healthy? Jaggery is not healthy. But if you're using jaggery in place of sugar, that's a good move, okay? Similarly, they ask questions, you hear, is olive oil healthy?
Yeah.
No, if you're going to use olive oil in place of lard, it is a healthy move. But if you're going to use olive oil instead of eating olive, it's not a healthy move. Olives are healthy any day, okay? But olive oil is not healthy. Jaggery is not healthy. Sugarcane is healthy. Eat sugarcane. Nanderis, okay? Eat sugarcane. But jaggery is not healthy. And similarly, red wine is not healthy, but it is healthier.
You know, sir, there are so many questions which come to the mind after listening to you, but I do not think we have the time to go through all those. So we'll be referring to you later on the questions. And like you said, we can join you on the Telegram and the Facebook page. So,
Thank you.
I thank Mr. Lalit Kapoor for his enchanting session. We really got benefited out of the session, and I hope the same from the viewers. Thank you, Pratima ma'am. Thank you, Rakesh, Mr. Rakesh. And thank you, viewers, for having attended this session.
All right. Okay, Rakesh, so long.
thank you again, Lalit.